Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video, this is part one of us working through the Retro2 machine on HackTheBox/VulnLab. Hey, real quick, if you appreciate my content, one of the best ways you can support me is by enrolling in one of my courses or become a member over on Ko-Fi. I currently have 3 courses available right now. The first one is Introduction to Hacking Methodology. If you are new to offensive security and CTFs and ethical hacking, this course is for you. It's beginner level, but will bring you up to speed rather quickly. My second course is Introduction to AWS Pentesting. This will take you from beginner level to intermediate in the field of AWS pentesting and cloud pentesting. And finally, my latest course is Hands-on Phishing. This will teach you to do full phishing campaigns from the perspective of a pen tester or a red teamer. I cover everything from purchasing domains to configuring DNS and TLS to using GoPhish and Evil Jinx to do full phishing campaigns to bypassing MFA to even spoofing telephone numbers so you can do pretext calling alongside of phishing. And over on Ko-Fi, I have resume reviews, mock interviews, different membership levels, and you can even get my courses on Ko-Fi a little bit cheaper just due to the revenue share. So hey, whether you purchase my courses on Simply Cyber Academy or over on Ko-Fi, that really is the best way you can support me. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me, and hey, enjoy the rest of this video. The reason I say HackTheBox/VulnLab is this is originally a VulnLab machine, but as you may have heard, VulnLab has been acquired, so they are slowly migrating all the content over to HackTheBox. So I thought, hey, let's solve this machine on HackTheBox. Now, I'm going into this completely blind. I have never done this machine. I have not solved it. I have not read about it. So I have really no idea what to expect. My hope is that in this series, I can give you my full thought process, my methodology, my note-taking process. I guarantee you I'm going to make a lot of silly mistakes. I'll try to keep you with the rabbit holes. I'll try to keep all of those in these videos to give you a real and raw attempt at solving a machine. The reason for that is when I was first getting into the field and I would watch people on YouTube solve a machine that I was stuck on, it would take them like 15 minutes to solve the machine. I'd be like, how did you know how to do this, 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 and this? Like, how did you make those connections? And what I realized is most YouTubers solve the machine ahead of time. They have all their nodes pulled up on a side monitor and they very quickly solve it. They're not showing you all the rabbit holes they fell into, the silly mistakes they made. They did all that, but they're not going to show it to you. And many YouTubers do not do this live stream hacking because, to be honest with you, it is incredibly difficult. I don't know if you've ever had this experience in like a Slack huddle or a Teams call that the moment you share your screen and you know people are watching, you sort of forget how computers work. Things that you know all the time, they just don't click. And you make a lot of dumb mistakes. And right now, I'm making those mistakes with over 70 people watching me. But here's the thing, all of us are still noobs. All of us have so many areas to learn. I'm not trying to impress you with my crazy hacker prowess. My goal is to help you learn. And if helping you learn means you laugh at me while I make some silly mistakes, I'm okay with it. So that's the plan. The other thing I'm going to try to do is I want to try to solve this machine using the Pwnbox. The Pwnbox is HackTheBox's browser-based VM. I used it the other day and was impressed by how smooth it actually was. So I want to take it for a full spin and we'll see how it performs on a series of live streams. With that as an introduction, let's go ahead and dive in. So we have our IP right here, 10.129.106.174, and I have the Pwnbox pulled up here. I can go ahead and close out Firefox. This is from a previous video that I made, and I also got my notes ready to go right here. I use Notion for note-taking. You can use whatever note-taking you want to use. Use Microsoft Paint for all I care. It's less important what you use for taking notes and just more important that you're in the habit of taking regular notes every time you work through a machine. Now, hey, before we dive into this machine and begin doing some enumeration, I do have to share with you this quick word from me. If you appreciate my videos, this is the best way you can support me. Hey, real quick, if you appreciate my content, one of the best ways you can support me is by enrolling in one of my courses or become a member over on Ko-Fi. I currently have 3 courses available right now. The first one is Introduction to Hacking Methodology. If you are new to offensive security and CTFs and ethical hacking, this course is for you. It's beginner level, but will bring you up to speed rather quickly. My second course is Introduction to AWS Pentesting. This will take you from beginner level to intermediate in the field of AWS pentesting and cloud pentesting. And finally, my latest course is Hands-on Phishing. This will teach you to do full phishing campaigns from the perspective of a pen tester or a red teamer. I cover everything from purchasing domains to configuring DNS and TLS to using GoPhish and Evil Jinx to do full phishing campaigns to bypassing MFA to even spoofing telephone numbers so you can do pretext calling alongside of phishing. And over on Ko-Fi, I have resume reviews, mock interviews, different membership levels, and you can even get my courses on Ko-Fi a little bit cheaper just due to the revenue share. So hey, whether you purchase my courses on Simply Cyber Academy or over on Ko-Fi, that really is the best way you can support me. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me, and hey, enjoy the rest of this video. Okay, let's go ahead and dive in. So step number one is we want to grab our IP. If we click into it, it will allow us to copy the IP. And I'm going to go over to my pwn box or your VM if you're following along, and we want to add that to our Etsy host file. Now, if you're new to Linux, Etsy host is what resolves the IP to the domain name, so you don't have to remember the IP every single time. And if this is an Active Directory environment, which I think it is, I don't know if there's any hints that shows us it is. I don't really want to click machine info because I don't know what it all shows me. But I think as an Active Directory environment, you often need it in your Etsy host to resolve different things. Now, you can think of Etsy host sort of like the phone book in your phone. If I'm calling teraflops, I don't actually have their number, but if I had teraflops' number, I don't need to remember their phone number. I just type teraflops into my phone and my phone resolves their name to their phone number. That's kind of like what Etsy host does. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll do sudo nano Etsy host. I'm going to paste in the IP there, hit tab on my keyboard, and I'm going to call it Retro2. I actually think the vuln machines have a .vl as a TLD or the top level domain here. So I'm going to call it Retro2.vl. I'm going to do Control X, Y to save it and enter. And now if we ping Retro2.vl, let's make sure it resolves and we are able to ping the machine and we have connection. Now in this first video, we're really just going to focus on enumeration. And the first step to perform an enumeration is a port scan. Let's see what ports are listening on this machine. I like to use rustscan just because the syntax is easier to remember for beginners, but you can also use nmap, whatever tool you want to use for port scanning. With rustscan, we're going to do rustscan-a retro2.vl. And the cool thing about rustscan is you're able to take any open port and pass it over to nmap. So here's what this command is doing. Number one, rustscan, I want you to scan retro2.vl and see what ports are open. Whatever open port is open, I want you to pass it over to nmap and run nmap against it with the -A flag on the open port. If you know your nmap flags, -A means, hey, I want you to throw all the enumeration scripts at it and let's see what is running on these ports. So this is a very easy to remember one-liner that will do a pretty decent port scan for you, and we'll see what ports are open. And just looking at these ports, I can already tell this is a Windows machine and likely an Active Directory machine. A few of the hints that point that out to me. Number one, we have DNS on port 53. We have Kerberos on port 88. We have SMB on 135, 139, and 445. We have some LDAP ports in there. We have RDP listening. So this is definitely a Windows machine and likely an Active Directory machine. It's going to take a little bit of time for our port scan to run because there are so many ports that are open when it comes to Active Directory, but we can even begin doing a little bit of initial enumeration. So I'm going to jump over to my notes here. I'm going to do an H1 and we'll just call this enumeration. And I'm going to do an H2 and we'll say nmap. And I'm going to make a placeholder or a code block with 3 backticks, kind of as a placeholder for my nmap scan. From there, we can begin enumerating some of the most common attack vectors when it comes to Active Directory. Things like seeing if we can check into SMB shares with an anonymous or a null session. So let's go ahead and start doing some of that. I'm going to do an H2 and I'm just going to call this SMB. I am going to drop in a placeholder for it so we can drop in the full port scan for SMB once we get down to that. And I know this is going to be 135, 139, and 445. So I'll drop that information there. So step number one, let me go ahead and open up a new tab. of bash. And I apologize, that's not automatically zoomed in. Is there a way that I can set this? Is there a preferences, profile preferences maybe? And if I go over to font, I'm going to change my font here. We'll make it, I don't know, 22 for you guys so you can see it good. There we go. That should allow you to see it well. I'm also going to rename, wow, that actually might be too big. At least for the port scan one. I'm going to rename this. We'll say Rust scan. So the only thing I don't like with Kali, I can do Alt Shift S to very quickly rename these. Here I have to right click. I'm just going to call this terminal, which I guess it already was called terminal. But let's see if we can access the SMB share with anonymous or no creds. We'll do SMB client -L for list, Retro2.vl. I think that's the syntax. We'll do anon, and we are able to list the shares anonymously. If this is a pen test, that would actually be something we want to add to our report. I'm going to copy that, and we will say anonymous listing of shares is possible. And I'll drop it in a code block here. Also, guys, I'll do my best to continue to pay attention to chat. So if you have any questions about what we're doing, feel free to ask them in chat. It's likely that if you have the question, somebody else also has the question. But now that we're able to do this, there's really not a whole lot here. We have public that might be worth digging into. The rest are kind of default shares. We're not going to have access to admin or anything like that. So we can go ahead and look at this public share and see what is going on there. Is there a way to, you notice how this is like cut off down there? I wonder if there's a way for me to fix that. It's not that, oh, when I start typing, it fixes it. So I'm going to do SMB client, retro.vl, and we'll do public, like so, anon, and I am not able to connect. It looks like I'm able to list the shares anonymously, but I may not be able to actually connect to the shares. Okay. So we can list the shares. We cannot connect to the shares. I don't think any of them. So we can add that to our notes. We'll say, although we are able to list the shares, we cannot actually connect to and enumerate the shares. So when we find credentials, we'll want to come back to that. How is our scan going? All right, our scan's done. So this might give us some good information, some things that are going to be worth digging into. We don't need all of the information. Let's see, these ports, standard Windows ports, not going to be super helpful. So I'm going to start, I don't even need the certificate information. I'm going to start right here and scroll up from here. We'll copy that. We'll go over to our notes and drop in the in-map scan results. And looking at this real quickly, we have Microsoft DNS. Oh, we have, is it really Windows Server 2008? Wow. You guys ever seen Damon Darling? Wow. Let me know in chat if you guys know who I'm talking about. His videos crack me up all the time. Windows Server 2008. We should just hit this with some old exploits. But because it is on VulnLab, I guarantee you it's not an easy exploit to get in. We also have the computer name right here, bln01.retro.vl. We're going to want to add that to our Etsy host file. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, go over to our attack machine here, sudo nano Etsy host, and I'm going to drop that over here. We'll add that to our Etsy host file. That was Retro2. Yeah, good call, guys. Thank you in chat for noticing that. They just use the 2 like that. Perfect. So we'll see if there's anything else that just stands out to me real quick. Otherwise, we can begin doing some DNS enumeration. Since this is called Retro2, Retro 1 machine, if I remember right, I think the way in was using these pre-2000 computer accounts where the password is set the same as the computer name. I doubt that that's the way in for Retro2, but I bet it has something to do with some old configured Windows technology. And seeing that it's Windows Server 2008, I'm going to guess that my guess is correct. But I'm going to grab this and I'm going to put it up above SMB. We'll just call it DNS. And I think I copied it. Oh yeah, I did. And there's some basic DNS enumeration we are able to do. We'll go over to our pwn box just because I want to continue showcasing this. We'll see if it remains smooth for us. And I'll do DNS hack tricks. I noticed DuckDuckGo works a little bit better for hack tricks. Apparently we're hanging out in Finland today. And no, I don't want to see the ad. So there's a few very basic things we can do on DNS that usually I don't have any success with, but I still like to try it. One is doing an any record. The record any will ask the DNS server to return all the available entries that it is willing to disclose. So we can go ahead and try this first. We'll open up our terminal and I'm just going to paste in the syntax there. Our DNS IP is of course going to be our machine that we're trying to attack. So I'm going to copy that. And then our domain, we'll do retro2.vl. And there's nothing interesting here. So we'll jump back over to Pentesting DNS. Learning a lot from your AWS course. Great work. Well, thank you so much for the kind words. I really do appreciate it. We can try a zone transfer. Once again, this might give us some domains that will be worth digging into. Very unlikely for a machine like this, but YOLO, we have nothing to lose by trying it, so we'll just try it. Domain is retro2.vl. And once again, guys, do you notice how smooth this is? Like, this is legit smoother than my own VM half the time. I feel like my own VM is like buggy and broken. It's just, the pwn box is surprisingly smooth for a cloud and browser-based VM. And the zone transfer failed. You know, outside of that, there's not a whole lot to check when it comes to DNS. You can run through this, but we could try NS lookup. But if we haven't found anything now, I'm going to go ahead and write off DNS. Common enumeration, nothing too interesting. We can also look up the Microsoft DNS version to see if there's any vulnerabilities within DNS. I doubt it, but you never know. Well, this is interesting. On July 14th, 2020, Microsoft released a security update for an issue that's described there. This advisory describes a critical RCE vulnerability that affects Windows servers that are configured to run the DNS server role. We strongly recommend that server admins apply the security update at their earliest convenience. Blah, 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 blah. Is there a public POC available? Let's grab the CVE identifier and we'll search for it. I'm just going to type exploit. So one thing I noticed was when you search with Google on the pwn box, you get the silly captchas, I think because it's a DigitalOcean IP. Which, hey, if you've gone through my hands-on phishing course, you're familiar with DigitalOcean. Fun fact, unless they changed it, all of Hack the Box's infrastructure is actually DigitalOcean is the back end of all their infrastructure. Achieves domain admin. All right, I highly doubt this is the way in, but let's YOLO it. Let's look at the script. Make sure it's not installing a crypto miner. It doesn't really matter because I'm on the pwn box. For vulnerabilities, what are you trying to find? Like seeing all the records? Yeah, just looking for any RCEs. Ways to get command execution. Gotta make you understand. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. All right. This is some crazy hacking stuff here. So if you just run this script, it rickrolls you. That's actually amazing. I don't even know if it's worth running this script. This is not going to be the way in. Watch it be the way in, though. I want to sort of understand this RCE a little bit better. Okay, here's a thing from Bleeping Computer. Like, there's no way for a vulnerable machine it's just one step, fire off this and get domain admin. Do you think it's in Metasploit? Let's just check. I don't know if it is or not. We'll open up Metasploit real quick. Did I just get rickrolled? You did. You just got rickrolled. Welcome to the Hack Smarter live stream. Rickrolled in real time. Okay, no, it is not there. Well, I suppose I don't think it's the way in. Let's continue enumerating just based on how vulnab is configured. I can't imagine that's the way in. Let's drop a link though. Let's say if we get stuck, let's come back to that. We can go ahead and grab the SMB information real quick. Enter that in and we'll grab 445. John Hammond is related to Rick Astley. John Hammond is Rick. They are the same person. If you didn't know, now you know. Okay, so I guess from here, there's only a few things we do. We could look into RPC and we can look into LDAP. I believe with LDAP, we can use netexec for that. And I'm going to assume netexec is installed on here. It is. Okay, cool. So let me go ahead and look at the netexec wiki because I always forget the syntax. What up, Sozo? Good to have you here, my friend. And we'll go down to LDAP. Guys, I can't get over how smooth the Pwnbox is working right now. Anyone who's experimented with these browser-based VMs, you know how amazing it is that this actually works well. Can we check for anonymous bind over here in LDAP? I think enum for Linux maybe does that by default. What's the syntax for enum for Linux again? Position argument is host. Let's try to run enum for Linux with no credentials and just see what happens. So it's going to give us a random username saying LDAP is accessible. Appears to be root or parent domain controller. While checking public shares of Retro2 VL, your domain was just retro.vl. Oh, good call. You know, we could dive back into that as well. I forgot that we changed the domain stuff, so we might have some other information. So this is interesting. With RPC, we could do some RPC, I think it's brute forcing to get user information. I'm going to just drop, I'm just going to do LDAP And I'm going to drop some notes in here as I look at things of things that are going to be worth digging into later on. We have the SID, OS information. So it is Windows Server 2008 from everything that I can see. So it's not able to query users, it looks like, via RPC. That's what I was hoping it would be able to do. Shares via RPC, policies via RPC. So nothing else really interesting here. I'm curious, if I do SMB client-L, retro2.vl, all right, we should be able to list those shares. Can I access public? Oh, let me remove the L. I want to try to connect to the share. Oh, look at that. I am able to access it. So my issue before is I was using the wrong domain. So let me go back up to this and we can correct this. We are able to get into the public share. So let's see what's in the public share. If I dir, we have a database and temp. Database, of course, sounds interesting to us. Way better than any browser view. My views just had to skip a room with THM because the attack box won't open. Yeah, I've had a lot of issues with the attack box on Try Hack Me, but the Pwn box is working very smoothly here on Hack the Box. We have a staff database file. Can I get that? All right, we got it. Let's check out this other directory of temp, and we have nothing in the temp directory. So I just saved this to my data. I don't know how much space my data allows, so I'm going to remove that from, or not copy, I want to move it. Let's remove that out one directory. And we have, wait, what? Did I not move it out one directory? What was my command I just did? Am I blind? Oh, it moved it out to the home right here. Just for organization, we'll make a directory for this machine. And we'll move staff into Retro2. And then we'll CD into Retro2. Okay, here we go. So ACCDB database file, what if I just cat that? Okay, we don't want to just cat an ACC database file. I don't even know what type of database is that, like. No way. I was going to guess Microsoft Access. Amazing. Guys, okay. Fun story on Microsoft Access. I used to work at a college. I used to manage the IT support department, and we had keys for every building on campus. And I kid you not, they made a custom Microsoft Access database, and that's what they use to check out all these keys. It was like on this really old Windows XP laptop that wasn't connected to the internet, so it wasn't domain joined or internet joined, but it was in the back room. When you checked out a key, you would check it out on Microsoft Access. Freaking amazing. So let's see, how can we read a Microsoft Access online? Can we do that? That'll be easier than trying to install tools. I'm going to browse, and we're going to go to Home, Retro2 Open, and hit Start. Let's see. Oh, an unexpected error occurred. Come on. Is there any other ghetto apps that I can use without, I mean, if it's malware, it is what it is. It's a nice thing about using the Pwn box. I can't pwn my own computer. The file appears to be password protected. Oh, are you sure? Is it password protected? Is there like a John for John to ACCDB to John? I don't even know. Cracking. Bro, I don't want the AI overview. ECCB to John. That's what I'm saying. Maybe it's not actually password protected. Let's just see what we can find. Is there any tool that will allow it? I just released an access to CSV program written in Java based on Jack. Code is here. Pure for what is with all these ads? It's a pure Java library for reading from and writing to Microsoft Access databases. It is part of the Open HMS project. It is not an application. There's no GUI. Surely there's an easier way, or I'm going to have to open up Windows. Oh, can do it so from MDB tools. Interesting. Well, I'm looking over at time, and we are at a good stopping point. I think we've actually got further than I was expecting. We found what's likely the way in. We found this database file, and I should actually add this. So we found a Microsoft Access database file. Now we just... If we can't view it from Linux, I will switch over to Windows, but I want to try to solve this entire machine from the POM box. So we'll continue digging into it in the next stream and see if we can figure it out. So hey, for those of you watching, this was part 1 of working through Retro2 from hackthebox/vulnlab, trying to solve the entire thing from the POM box. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me, and I will catch you in the next one.